This is part 2, the conclusion of How to Boil a Microphone.
G'day folks! Welcome to the Binaural Cafe, where we explore an amazing variety of sounds captured in the wildest places and spaces. And we do it all in immersive sound for earphones. The special on the board today is, how to boil a microphone.
That's a lifeguard tower telling me that I'm in the wrong place at the wrong time and it's too dangerous to be there. And that's my assistant telling me the translation. Because you can get one rogue wave that comes in and gets a hold of you. Water is so powerful. Yeah. I mean, 1 foot of water can do a lot. A little, a good couple, 2-3 feet.
I'm sorry, this is in binaural, that particular one.
Yes, this is binaural, yeah. But okay. It's just so all-encompassing that it's really hard to tell where things are.
So you describe that as the ocean noise. Now, what about wind? How does that...
Yeah, typhoons, I mean, wind is a part of a typhoon for sure, but you're not always experiencing those effects. So if the typhoon has passed, maybe the wind has died down, but the ocean is still churned up.
Okay, so that's primarily what we're hearing here is the ocean as opposed to wind.
Yeah, we're hearing the ocean effects. There's no wind sound in that. I'm sure Fritz here has these cute little earmuffs. They're for...
I was wondering if you'd throw a windsock over the whole head.
I've seen him with a hat on, but I haven't seen the earmuffs.
That's right. So Fritz has earmuffs which are designed as wind filters, because if wind gets to the eardrums, it just gets nasty. So I'm sure he was wearing earmuffs at the time to knock down on what breeze or light wind there was. But everything you're hearing there is the ocean itself in front of you writhing, and you can hear that the receding waves, whatever material that is, the aggregate is much bigger than sand or pebbles. That's like some serious rocks moving around, and just the force.
It's alive.
It's alive.
The whole thing's alive. Yeah.
So one thing that happened when I was in this particular region of northeastern Taiwan, at that time I was working on an album project, which was the first, as I mentioned, as a foreigner to win their Grammy equivalent, and it's called A Journey of Water, and it was telling the story of this northeastern province of Taiwan called Yilan, and my job was to seek out the traditional music or my music. And I used water as the thread. So I start in the high mountains, 2,000-year-old cypress trees, and I wind up at the ocean.
Right.
Well, when I got to the ocean, I discovered something quite unique, that there's a very rare underwater volcano right off the coast of Taiwan at an island called Turtle Mountain. And it's this island, not very big, and it looks just like a turtle. Like not very big. If it had a walkway around it, you could walk around it in probably say 4 hours or 5 hours. So it's fairly sizable, but nobody lives on it now. And right when you see it, it looks like a turtle with its head up out of the water, the turtle shell and little tail, cute little tail as a matter of fact. And it's right where the chest of the turtle would be that this underwater volcano is, which is also gushing out this hot spring water. And so the white creamy water is swirling away from the chest of the turtle. But when I realized that there was a deep sea volcano there, and I'm out there recording sound about Taiwan, I thought, man, what does that sound like?
Now I understand the title of this episode.
It's
great.
So we're starting to get to the down and dirty of how to boil a microphone.
Should it be an accidental boiling of the microphone?
Well, we'll get there in the story, but I mean, if you do hang a couple of microphones, if you deep sea dive and bring them right down to the vent of a volcano, it's hard to call that accidental, So, and that's what I did. So I had to learn how to scuba dive first, and then I had to find hydrophones, which is a word for an underwater microphone. Hydro being water. Yep. And so DPA provided these very long 45-meter cabled hydrophones, which as I understand, you're not even supposed to get those because you can monitor submarine activity or something like the only hydrophones I've ever had I think 5 meters long.
Right.
It's quite unusual to have them that long, but I had 2 of them made. And I wasn't really thinking clearly because there is no stereo the way we understand it underwater. But let's listen to a little bit of some of the recordings that I first did right off the boat. And this is in the area of the volcano, but this isn't the volcano sound. I just wanted to share this with you.
Okay.
You can hear the respirators, us divers. Now you hear that crackling sound? Mm-hmm. When I first put these in the water, I was quite dismayed because I thought there was a problem with the microphone. This crackling was just continuous. But then when I went diving, after I pulled the mics out, I listened to the recording, heard all this crackling, I realized I wasn't really paying attention when I was diving to what I was hearing, because it's a very intense experience when you're learning to dive. You're not listening. You're sort of a little bit freaked out and looking at how much air do you have and visually what's going on. When I dove, I realized, I'm hearing that. And what that is are shrimp.
Oh, feeding?
That's what they do. They just sit. They snap and crackle, and I suppose they're feeding. That's a good. Maybe somebody can write in and tell us what shrimp are doing. But that crackling sound is the sound of all those little shrimp down there doing what shrimp do.
Okay.
And so that's when I realized, not to my dismay, that these were really sensitive, and they were well primed for the job at hand.
DPA makes great stuff.
So I mentioned, the stereo underwater doesn't work for humans the way it does above water, and that's because sound moves too fast.
Yeah.
Water is much more denser than air, so the molecules that are bumping each other to transmit the energy to your ears is going so fast that when it gets to your head, the milliseconds of difference from one ear to the other that would tell you if it was to your left or your right is too small for the brain to calculate.
Right. Okay.
So everything you hear underwater sounds like it's literally in the middle of your ears, inside your head. Let's say your dive master wants to get your attention, takes his knife or her knife or their knife and smacks the tank and makes that clicking sound. You can't tell where the tank is. You just look in all directions because it's all in the middle of your head. But I had an idea about how to capture stereo nonetheless from this, because it seemed a bit underwhelming to do all that work to record a deep sea volcano only to get a mono recording. And so I purchased two of these because I thought, well, as I saw when we scoped out the area, it's belching out these gas blobs. Huge blobs of gas are coming out of these vents, and they're moving along. And so I thought, if I anchor these two hydrophones, about say 2 meters apart, and those gas blobs would be moving from one hydrophone to the other, that would then reinstill the movement and thereby create what we would then perceive as a stereo recording.
That makes sense.
So the stereo is created by the movement of what's happening coming out of the vents rather than the movement of sound through the air.
Right.
And so this, for example, are some of those stereo belches. You can hear what I'm talking about. So you can hear how it's sort of belching out these blobs, and it moves from one hydrophone to the other.
Yeah, one ear to the other. I was noticing that. Yeah.
And so that recording was done further away from the actual volcanic vent itself, because it was an opportunity. And as I was getting closer, we recorded that. Now, the next step was to get right down there, because there's this low end rumbling that's coming out of that volcano that's really powerful, and then there's this hissing of these vents, and a lot of it is kind of phasing. The sound is phasing around, and it's like a symphonic, performance that, quite frankly, nobody had ever recorded before. We made this recording. So this now is what you hear when you're right down there. Bear in mind that the gas and the water coming out of these volcanic vents are in excess of 100 degrees Celsius.
I was going to ask, how hot is it down there?
It's about 120, 100 centigrade. So it's well above the boiling point.
So this is how you would, in fact,
boil a microphone. And these were expensive mics, and they cooked in the process. But the great news is they really got fried after I got enough good recording.
Good.
Yeah, so we got that.
Thank you, DPA.
Did you get a recording of them frying?
You would want to hear it. Okay. It gets really, they tick on and off and pop, and it's nothing you want to listen to.
Oh, I've heard them go before.
Yeah, it's not a nice sound, especially us techie guys, because you know what's happening. There are thousands of dollars of gear is evaporating in front of you. But this is the sound of the Turtle Mountain deep sea volcano. It's funny when I listen back because I can remember being there, and there's kind of a strange, solemn feeling about being there. Even though there's so much energy pounding away, you kind of, it feels reverent.
Well, this is how, Mother Earth creates new Earth, right? This is the birth of new Earth, in a sense, right? So you're hearing Earth give birth, essentially. I'm going to stop rhyming.
Boy, I'll tell you, the mirth.
There's a lot of girth.
I had a lot of girth to those.
Bravo!
I'll tell you something really interesting. One thing that's unique to this is there's a certain species of crab that live in this toxic environment. It's toxic. There's this sulfuric stuff coming out of there. It's all yellow, and very just this yellow gases everywhere. And there's these little crabs that run around, and guess what they eat?
Sulfur?
No, they eat plankton, which is raining down on them because that boiling water is coming up, cooking the plankton. And then the dead cooked plankton rain down onto these little crabs, and so they're getting fully free cooked meals round the clock. And what's also interesting is nothing can eat the crabs because they're toxic.
I see. Oh,
because they're living in this toxic environment, so they themselves are toxic.
It's like an underwater barbecue.
It's a lot like Los Angeles. When I was Los Angeles in the summer, when I was looking at this smog-ridden environment, it's like, wow, a lot of people living there. I'm not sure it's a good place to be, but boy, the food can be delicious.
I bet.
Yeah. So that was how to boil a microphone, and this is the conclusion of the first episode. What'd you guys think?
That was awesome.
Very cool.
Some very cool water, ocean sounds there.
I thought I heard, just listening to it, it's almost like there are crickets in the background. Did you hear that? Almost like birds or crickets?
I was hearing voices.
Were you?
On the last one, I was kind of like, it's really...
It's weird, that hissing, phasing sound.
Yeah.
The crickets, I'm not sure what that could be. Could be the crabs, some sound the crabs are making. I didn't.
It could be tinnitus.
It could be you. Could just be you, Todd.
It could be.
What is that? You drink it? Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah. That's a double shot.
There you go.
Yeah, caffeine will get to you.
From somebody that I care not to disclose the brand.
Right. Well, it's from the Binaural Cafe. And you've been in the Binaural Cafe, and thank you for listening. We're ending each of these episodes with a song from an album that I've been producing. And you guys have been helping me with this called Full Circle. And the entire album, every instrument is being recorded in binaural and in these spaces that we're also able to capture using binaural technology called impulse responses. We're going to get into that in a future episode, but each of these episodes are finished with a song from the new album, which means you guys are among the first to hear it. And this is a song called Just As It Should Be, which was written on the North Coast, on the Arctic Ocean, which is why I chose it. And It was actually recorded at my cabin, but the song is about the Arctic Sea, among other things, and I thought it was suitable. So thanks for listening, and tune in. Keep your eyes open for new episodes coming your way.
All right. Right on, boys.
Relentlessly, the Arctic Sea resounds on the shore, and Mugo's chords, the waves report, just as 10,000 years before. And coming through the Caribou, renew the ancient round, and as they do, a chosen few return their bodies to the ground. And it is tragic, it is pure, to survive is to endure, and all is just as it should be. The coastal plain, the Arctic Sea, and summer herds move on towards the call of distant lands, leaving only memories and cloven hoof prints in the sand. And the ocean glimmers gold tonight, bathed in Arctic light. Somewhere a turn takes rest from flight, somewhere a calf will die tonight. And it is tragic, it is pure, to survive is to endure, and all is just as it should be. The coastal plain, the Arctic Sea, and all is just as it should be.
We'd like to thank the government of Yukon for sponsoring in part this program, and look forward to seeing you soon in the Binaural Cafe. I'm Matthew Lien.